From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. We are taking a look at a new Head Start program popping up in our state. We'll get to that story in a minute, but first. Road closures and evacuations remain in effect for the Boulder 2700 fire burning near Finley Point. That fire destroyed as many as 20 structures. Here's your leading look on this Monday. The fire burned some 1,150 acres. Evacuations are in effect from mile marker 6 to 13 on Highway 35. There is a community meeting tonight at 6:30 at the Linderman Gym in Polson. And the water emergency in Polson has now been lifted. However, officials say they're returning to odd and even street watering on residential and commercial lawns. Near Lodge Grass, arson charges are expected for the Exit 530 fire, which destroyed a shed and threatened some homes. It burned around 24 acres and crossed the Little Bighorn River. Lawmakers are pleading with the Biden administration to immediately extend the eviction moratorium. It ended over the weekend, and as many as 3.6 million Americans face eviction. And former President Donald Trump has until Wednesday to challenge an order to turn over his tax returns to Congress. The committee wants to see how the IRS audited the tax returns. That's your leading look.
Well, with the latest drought information coming out this past Thursday, we are aching for some rain all across Montana, northern Wyoming, in some stage of drought. Do we have any relief on the way? Let's take a look. The next 6 to 10 days, we've got a wetter than average pattern, possibly on the northwest corner of the state into central Montana, maybe 33% chance that we're going to be a little wetter than average. And then you get into the eastern part and down into the northeast corner. You can see it looks like we're either going to be near normal or we're going to be drier than normal. Monsoonal moisture is finally streaming back into the area. We do have this ridge of high pressure that's kind of pushing off to the east, allowing that moisture to come in. Seeing some rain already, but how long does it last? I'll let you know with the main forecast coming up here in just a bit.
I'm Dennis Bragg of Missoula. Fire forecasters are now predicting that this hot, dry weather and higher fire danger is going to continue into September.
Outside of a snowy February, last year's dry winter had raised concerns about only average runoff in this summer's fire threat, although it looked to be only above normal later in the summer. Then the heat started.
Not so much the snowpacks, that was a part of it. It was just the unprecedented heat in the latter half of June and then continuing all the way through this month. And we really didn't get much moisture during that period anywhere in the NRGA. And some areas have had almost none.
The meteorologists in predictive services at the Northern Rockies Coordination Center are watching the potential for some moisture, but say it's not the long-term relief we need.
Thunderstorms, they can drop maybe a quarter or half of an inch, but they have a very small footprint. And the rainfall is intense and it runs off pretty quickly, evaporates, and we're still in a warm pattern. What we really need is a low pressure system coming in from the Pacific with much cooler air and clouds and steady light precipitation for 2 or 3 days, and nothing like that is in the cards.
While the Southwest has been swimming in water from monsoonal storms, the Northern Rockies have seen fairly moderate relief so far, and there's always the question of dry versus wet thunderstorms.
And some of that moisture does come up here and bring some rain, but it also brings more lightning strikes as well for fire starts. So it's a mixed blessing, really.
Richmond says the larger issue beyond the heat is the growing potential for strong winds that develop in August, combining with Montana's drought to cause not just forest fires, but open range fires.
And we have a lot of fires out in central Montana as well, and some in eastern. So those are always really vulnerable to any increase in wind. And fortunately, nothing is on the shows up on the horizon yet.
So what's still to come? Well, based on the current outlook, more of the same for the rest of the summer. But there's always that chance for a quick turnaround.
We don't see any change in our potential for forecast for the month of August. We're keeping all of our areas in the Northern Rockies above average for fire potential through August and even through September. However, sometimes in some years, you might remember in 2017, in mid-September, we had 2 upper-level low-pressure systems that brought a very quick end to the fire season. And obviously it's way too soon to forecast anything like that. But even if that were to occur this year, the first half of September would still be very active. And that's why we're keeping that above average potential all through September.
In Missoula, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Up next, Miller Robson is back in with a look at today's forecast. Plus, we are taking you to the Yellowstone County Museum where there's a brand new exhibit that's now on display. That story is ahead.
Storm Tracker